morning, friends. In this course on Hinduism, we are now seeing the stories. In the last session also, I told you some stories. Today also I wish to tell some stories. Because I told you, these stories from these Purana. Purana means mythology. These mythological stories can be understood by people at different levels. A 5th grade student can also appreciate it, a grown-up person can also appreciate, and a philosopher can also appreciate, because there are so many levels of meaning in this. So that is why I wish to tell about another story from what is called Devi Bhagavatam. So this story, of course, it is the story about a buffalo demon. He is half buffalo, half demon. So sometimes, the head of a buffalo and or rather the body of a buffalo and the head of a man. So it's something like that. And in some portraits it is given as a buffalo head and the body of a man. So whatever it is, he is half buffalo, half man. So something like that. And then on the other hand, there is a goddess, and that goddess is that supreme reality according to Shakti cult. This particular tradition, this is the Shakti tradition. I was telling you that there are several traditions in India. That is, one is a Vishnu tradition, one is a Shiva tradition, one is a Shakti tradition, one is a Ganesha tradition, and so on. So this tradition is a Shakti tradition, which considers Shakti as the supreme thing, as the supreme reality. And in that Shakti only, there are manifestations of this Sattva, Rajas and Tamoguna. And in that Shakti alone, there is manifestation of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahishasura, etc. So all these things, they originate in that Shakti. So this story is there in another Purana also. Devi Bhagavatam is there. And in addition to that, there is another Purana called Brahmanda Purana, not Brahmanda Purana, Markandeya Purana. Markandeya Purana. That again is a very popular Purana. So, and in also some other Puranas, there may be some slight variation in the story, but the broad story is like this. So the evil is represented by this buffalo demon. The evil is not alone. Evil has its own attendants. Evil has its own empire. It has got its own so many accompanying gunas, so many accompanying characteristics. All those accompanying characteristics, they are something like the demonic army. So if we see Gita, Bhagavad Gita, there is a chapter called Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. That is, all the divine endowments on one side, all the demonic endowments on another side. So these two things, they always clash in the mind of a person, I was saying. So like that Daivasura Sampat, what are all the divine qualities and what are all the demonic qualities, there is a broad description in that particular chapter in Gita. So like that, here this Mahisha is a very, very powerful demon, symbolizing all evil, and then he is attended by various other evil characters, and all those people, that is a mighty army. And this Mahisha also, he also does some tapas, because all these demons also can do austerities, they can also do some tapas, they can also please gods, and gods means there are some supreme gods who are not at the level of ordinary deities, supreme gods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, etc. They also can please this creator Brahma, and then they can also get some boons, etc. So which means anybody who works hard can get some good result. So that is what symbolically we have to take. An evil person who is able to work hard and strive, think, so even that person can achieve a lot. So that is what is symbolized by this Mahishasura here. So this Mahisha, he obtains very great boons that he cannot be killed by anybody at any time. And then the gods, they have to find some way. They have to find some way of putting an end to this man and to his army. So naturally all these demigods, they approach the Trinity, that is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and then they pray to him. And then Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara also they plead helplessness, because in this particular tradition, we are talking about the Shakti tradition. Shakti is supreme. So all these people, they worship Shakti, and then Shakti, she appears. And then all these, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, they all their powers, they also bestow all their powers on that lady. And then a very, very powerful goddess is created. So that is what happens there. So that, this goddess Durga, or some other name is Chandika, whatever name you say, that goddess representing good and all the forces of good, and then this demon, this buffalo demon, representing all forces of evil. So there are a multitude of divine qualities on one side and a multitude of demonic qualities on the other side. So these two things, they quarrel, and then there is a big battle. And as I was telling, this battle is described in a so graphic manner. There is a lot of dramatization. There is a lot of dramatization, and in between this Mahishasura challenging the goddess, and then Mahishasura inviting that goddess to be his lover, because that goddess, she is also beautiful. She is also beautiful to look at. So this Mahisha symbolizes lust, greed, and all these demonic qualities, and also symbolizes ignorance. So this person, he invites her to be his wife, and then that is how there is a lot of dramatization in between. And at the end, slowly the Mahishasura's army, how the Mahishasura's army is killed, and at the end how this Mahishasura himself is killed. All that is portrayed in a very, very symbolic manner in about 700 verses. It is called Durga Saptashati. Durga Saptashati, there is a very famous episode in that Markandeya Purana, Durga Saptashati. In fact, if you have seen some yajna, Chandi Yagam, they say, that Chandi Yaga, in that Chandi Yaga, it is this Durga Saptashati, the 700 shlokas which are recited in the Chandi Yaga, along with some other rituals, along with some small rituals. These 700 verses are recited. And if you see all those 700 verses, that is, there is a graphic description of different demonic qualities, and then how various deities, they demolish or they vanquish these demonic qualities, and then how ultimately that this Mahishasura himself is vanquished. So this is the story of that Durga Saptashati, or in other words Markandeya Purana. So we'll come to, if we see some other story, for example, I'll tell you another story of Samudra Mathanam. Do you have that slide?
Yeah.
Samudra Manthan. Samudra Manthan means churning of an ocean, churning. So for this, of course, you should know what is the meaning of churning, because churning, say a modern student might not, my modern kid might not be knowing. At our age, in our childhood, we have seen there is a milk pot, and in that milk pot there is a churning rod, and with that churning rod there is a rope tied around it, and then you hold the two ends of the rope and then do this churning. So nowadays a modern student can understand it if you use the word called whisk. There is a thing called whisk which is used in the kitchen. So churning, in olden days that whisk was not there. So there was a churning rod like thing, and the churning rod, you tie a rope around it, you hold the two ends of the rope and then do this, this sort of rotating it. You keep on rotating it in that milk, and then that milk, of course milk means the curd, not exactly milk, curd, and then that curd turns into that butter, it gives butter, and then once you heat the butter it gives some ghee and all those things. So here you visualize a huge ocean. There is a Samudra Manthan. Samudra Manthan means churning of a huge ocean. And what is this ocean? It is an ocean of milk. It is called Kshira Sagara. Kshira Sagara Mathanam it is otherwise called. That is churning of the ocean of milk. Where do you get this ocean of milk? Okay, we will understand it later, the symbolism, but right now let us say that it is an ocean of milk. Let us not question that if somebody puts some tamarind there, if somebody puts some salt there, the ocean may break. Then what can we do if the ocean breaks? So all these questions we should not put. Then we will see the symbolism later. So this ocean of milk is there, and then the gods and the demons, they usually, we know that they keep quarreling always, and sometimes it so happens that these gods, when they are weak, they also enter into a peace pact with a peace agreement with the demons. When you are strong, you vanquish. That is the nature, isn't it? When you are weak, you try to make friends with the enemy. So sometimes it so happens that that these gods, they are on a weak wicket. So they make friends with the demons. Make friends means they agree into some sort of peace agreement. Let us say truce, as we call it. So some peace pact. So some peace agreement with these demons. And then they are both advised by the say sages, because they both know that if this ocean of milk is if that ocean is churned, there will be nectar coming out of it. Nectar means what is called amrutam. In Sanskrit it is called amrutam, which gives, say, eternal life. There is deathlessness. Amrutam means immortality. Mruta means mortality. Amrutam means immortality. Similar cognate word. Mortality, mrityu, martya, all those words are similar. So immortality is amrutatva. So all these people, they are aiming at that immortality, because nobody wants to die. And in this battles with this between gods and demons, so many people are dying quite often. So that is why they both think that they say they have to churn this ocean. And we may get a question: can't the gods do it alone? Can't the demons do it alone? It is not, for some reason, it is not possible for them. Gods alone cannot do it, and demons alone cannot do it. Both, they have to cooperate. There should be some sort of cooperative rivalry, let us say. And then both groups, they think, okay, once say this nectar comes out, we will somehow cheat the other group and then we will snatch it. So both groups, they are, say, in their minds it is like that. Then they both try to, they have to churn it. If they have to churn a huge ocean, they need a huge churning rod. So they get hold of one, they identify some tall mountain, mountain, and then they pluck out that huge tall mountain, and then they get it. Of course, there is a big dramatization here also. In Mahabhagavata, this is a story from Mahabhagavata, Srimad Bhagavata, in 8th skandha, that is the 8th book of that Mahabhagavata. There are about 4 or 5 chapters which describe this whole story in a very, very graphic way. In a very graphic way, there is so much of dramatization here and there. So they pluck out that huge mountain and then they bring it. Of course, on the en route, they are unable to bring it. Then Lord Vishnu appears with the help of his Garuda, and then with the help of that Garuda, it is taken out and it is brought to that, say, ocean. And then again, they also need a huge rope, a very, very long rope. So they take that cosmic serpent called Vasuki. There is a cosmic serpent called Vasuki, so long that they are able to hold it. So they tie that Vasuki around that, say, mountain, and then that mountain is used as a churning rod, and then both the groups, they hold one end tail by somebody and then head by somebody. One group, that is the gods, they hold the tail portion, the demons hold the head portion of it, and then they keep churning it. And once they start churning it, say, what happens is, the mountain, it slowly slips and it sinks into the, say, ocean. So at that time again, Lord Vishnu has to intervene. After all, this is from Bhagavata. Bhagavatam is the supremacy of Vishnu. In the earlier story of Mahishasura, that say, what is that buffalo demon, that is supremacy of Shakti. So here it is the supremacy of Vishnu. So each tradition created its own stories, but ultimately, all said and done, something relating to knowledge, something relating to battle between good and evil, something relating to killing, say, vanquishing ignorance. So some stories like that. So here what happens is, so Vishnu has to intervene when this, mountain gradually sinks into the ocean. So Vishnu comes in the shape of a huge tortoise. And then that he keeps that tortoise, that shell of the tortoise is quite thick. So on that shell of that tortoise, this mountain is landed, and then they again keep churning it. So there is a strong base. And then it will not sink into the ocean. So it is like that. So again they resume. And then once they resume, what happens? Then the first thing that appears is poison. Poison comes in the shape of a huge fire, and there is a very dangerous smoke, and then it starts, say, affecting everybody, and then everybody starts fainting. Intolerable, say, let us say, poison, that comes out. And who is there to, say, take it? So Lord Vishnu, he is busy here. Then Brahma is there elsewhere. So Shankara, Lord Rudra, otherwise called Ishvara, he is there watching the whole show. So he takes that poison and then he gulps it and then he keeps it in his throat. So that is why Lord Shiva is said to be having a black throat. He doesn't swallow it completely. He doesn't let it out. He keeps it in his throat only, and then that is why because of the effect of that poison, the throat appears black. So it is called Kala Kantha. There is another name for Shiva. His name is Kala Kantha. That is black-throated God. So anyway, so Lord Shiva takes it. Then again the gods and demons, they revive, and then what they do, they resume this churning. Then again some small things they come out, various things they come out of this churning. And one prominent thing that comes out of this churning is Lakshmi, goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi means symbolizing wealth, symbolizing all types of wealth. And wealth is something which is needed for sustaining the earth, sustaining the universe. And who is the sustainer of the universe according to this our scheme? Vishnu is the sustainer of this whole thing. And then she looks around and then she wants to find somebody who doesn't want her. Lakshmi, it is so interesting there to read. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, she wants to find somebody who is totally spotless. Totally spotless means having no defect. There are some people, okay, somebody, he is a great, say, tapasvi. Tapasvi means somebody who has done some great tapas, great meditation, and he has got high powers. But he has not controlled his anger. There may be somebody else who may be having some other virtue, but then he is having some defect. And then there may be some other person who is having some other virtue, but he is having something called greed. So she cannot find anybody who does not have any type of blemish. Totally spotless person, and somebody who is not bothered about her. Bothered about her means who is not say keen on having wealth. And she finds the Vishnu alone is the one who is above all these things, who is above these three gunas, above this sattva, rajas and tamo guna, who is not having that greed or anything like that. And then she goes and puts the varamala in his in his say neck, let us say. So this Varamala means garlanding. She goes and garlands him, and thus she marries him, and then Lord Vishnu keeps her on her chest. So that is what is the story of Lakshmi. So then again what happens? Then again they keep on churning. They keep on churning, and several things they come out. Okay, several things are taken by several people. Some things are taken by gods, some things are taken by the demons and all that. And ultimately a man with that Amruta Kalasha, with a pot of Amruta, with a vessel of Amruta, say Amruta is that nectar or ambrosia as you call it. So a person appears, and the demons are quite sharp, and then they immediately leave the snake, they catch hold of that fellow, they catch hold of that man, and then take the Kalasham and run away. And then when they run away, almost trying to tell the whole story because it is quite an interesting story and it can be enjoyed by the kids also. So when the demons try to run away, they of course they do run away, but then they start quarreling. I have to take first, because there is again a hierarchy there, so I have to take first. So people, they start quarreling. So these gods, they feel cheated. So they again request Vishnu, kindly save, because they can't go and then they can't attack them also, because Amrita is with them. So Lord Vishnu, he thinks of a plan. He takes the appearance of a very, very beautiful woman. He assumes the form of a very, very beautiful woman, an extremely beautiful woman, an enchanting, let us say, a bewitching beauty, such a bewitching beauty. He appears before the demons. And the demons, they are looking at the pot. But then when they look at this enchanting woman, they get excited, and everybody wants her. And then everybody falls at her feet and then says, okay, everybody wants to have her hand. So naturally she is in a position to command them. So she says, why are you quarreling among yourselves? So she says, okay, we have got this pot of nectar. You give it to me, I will serve all of you. All of you sit in a line, I will serve you. And then she displays her beauty, and then in a very enchanting manner she makes them sit, all those people, in a line, and then with all nice gestures she says, okay, I am coming to you, I am coming to you. Probably she winks also, we do not know. So she tries to say, but she says, okay, she puts all the gods in one row, she puts the demons in one row. So she says, I will serve some these things to gods first, and then I will come to you. So then she starts serving to all the gods. Then she keeps on serving to all the gods, and then these demons, they start doubting. This woman is such an enchanting woman, but she is trying to teach us, cheat us. So two demons, they go and then sit in that row. And then at the end of that row, when the two demons also, they take that drink, then Vishnu realizes they are actually demons, and then he cuts their throat. So then, this again I am telling the whole story. Then again, the gods, the demons realize that all the nectar has been given to the gods only, and then they feel cheated. So that is the whole story. So if we see what exactly is the symbolism here, what is this ocean called milk? Ocean of milk. The ocean of milk is nothing but the ocean called mind, the ocean called consciousness. The ocean of consciousness itself is the mind. Is this ocean of consciousness is what is shown as the ocean of milk here. And then what is this churning? Churning is our own meditation. Churning is our own meditation. Meditation is a process of churning. Various good, bad, all types of ideas, they come into the mind and then they clash. And I was telling earlier that the clash between gods and demons, it is an adhyatmika sangrama. It is a battle which goes on in the mind of a human being. So like that, it is a churning which goes on. And in this churning, usually bad things come first. That is the shortcut solutions. The shortcut solutions, which is something, okay, like going and attacking somebody, going and doing something drastic. So these things, they come first. That is something like the poison, which is very dangerous. Initially, whenever we think of something, you will get the bad idea first. This bad thing, it is compared to this poison, and this poison is something which is likely to destroy the society. So poison refers to all the bad things which come out of the mind, and thereafter small benefits and wealth also in the process. When you are thinking, when you are doing this churning of ideas which takes place in the mind, there is a way of generating wealth. That is what is Lakshmi. And ultimately what comes out is this nectar. Nectar is self-realization. Nectar is knowledge, realization. So this is what is the overall symbolism here. And this Mohini is something which bewitches and then which drives away all these demonic forces. Mohini is something which enchants. The very meaning of Mohini is an enchantress. Mohini is an enchantress, let us say. So this enchantress, she enchants all these demons and then sees that they go away, and then she gives the nectar to the gods. So that is what is the symbolism. And there is an avatar of Vishnu also here, that Kurma is the tortoise avatara. So this avatara is beautifully described in that passage in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, in about 4 or 5 chapters, whatever story I told you, this story is narrated there. So if you have time, we'll tell one more story. Okay, then I'll tell one more story from the same Bhagavatam. I am telling these stories basically to tell you that all these stories are totally symbolic of certain ethical or philosophical concepts. There is nothing which can be wrongly interpreted, because there are some standard commentaries written on these stories. Srimad Bhagavatam is there. Srimad Bhagavatam, there are huge commentaries written on that, particularly by one gentleman called Sridhara and another gentleman called Vamshidhara. Sridhara first and Vamshidhara, then Veera Raghaviya. So many commentaries are there. if we have to see the commentaries of those, say the ancient commentaries. I am not talking about any modern commentaries. Of course, modern commentaries, they follow what the earlier commentators have said. So these commentaries, if we see that symbolism of certain ethical or certain philosophical concepts which are there in the say story. And then I can tell one more story from the same Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam, there is another, the same Bhagavata, that is chapter, this book, I have not noted that book number. So there is a story about another demon called Bali. Bali means, Balam means strength. Bali means a strong person. That is, one who takes pride in his strength, one who takes pride in his wealth, one who takes pride in his own say qualities, one who takes pride that he is able to conquer, and then he is able to do everything, he is able to accomplish everything. So that sort of arrogance. So a person symbolizing egotism, arrogance, and then the notion of I, which should not be there. In Veda, as per the Vedanta, as for a student of Vedanta, that notion of I should not be there. So this Bali is somebody who is symbolizing that notion of I, excessive egotism, excessive arrogance, excess of self, what can we say, self, say aggrandizement, whatever. So this Bali is there, and then how to vanquish that sort of Bali? Bali, of course, is a good man. He is not a dangerous man. But in philosophical, in the spiritual journey, this egotism is something bad. When you are a normal person, if you are not a spiritual seeker, then egotism can be there. Egotism, you are a very, very proud ruler, say, let us say. You are a very proud person, but at the same time, you are doing some activities, some good activities for the mankind. Bali is such person, a very righteous person who does all yajnas, who gives all the types of donations and whatnot. But he is a man who thinks that he is supreme, and he doesn't say realize that there is something supreme, something superior to him, something above him. He doesn't realize the supreme reality which is above. So that is that type of person. He thinks he is the doer. In Vedanta, we talk about doership. And then he thinks that he is the person who is commanding, who is in command. But he doesn't realize that there is something above which is in command. So that is the philosophical meaning there. So the human being assuming himself to be the boss. So that is the point. So there, how to say bring him onto the path of knowledge, onto the path of realization. So the Mahavishnu, this Vishnu again, because Srimad Bhagavata, it tells about various avatars of Vishnu. So this again which talks about an avatar. Avatar means descending, God descending for a specific purpose. So this Vamana avatar it is called. Vamana means a short person. Vamana avatar. Vishnu comes in the guise of a young lad, a young boy, a short young boy, very well versed, very well versed in Vedas, highly educated and highly learned boy. And then he goes to the place where Bali was doing a very huge yajna. He was performing a very huge yajna. Bali, as I said, he was a very righteous person, not a bad fellow. And then Bali, incidentally, he is the grandson of that Prahlada. In fact, in a last session, I was telling about this demon god Prahlada, who is the son of Hiranyakashipu. So that Prahlada's grandson is this Bali. And naturally, say getting some good qualities from his grandfather too. So, but then this man, he is highly egotistic. So Vishnu appears in the form of a young lad, a short young boy, and then he goes to this place where this yajna is being performed by Bali. And in all these yajnas, whoever is the performer of that yajna, they normally have one habit. Whoever comes and asks for something, they do give. So this boy also goes, and then he seeks down some. I have come with a request to you. Okay, your request is granted. You please take. So what do you want? What do you want? Do you want wealth? Do you want a kingdom? Do you want any other pleasures? All these things he says. Okay, do you want anything? Any of these things? No, I don't want anything. I only want a land which measures 3 feet. just 3 feet land. So then Bali, of course, he realizes there is something fishy about it. And then there is his guru also, Bali's guru, Bali Chakravarti, he is the king of demons. There is a guru also, he is called Shukracharya, he is also a very knowledgeable man. So he also intervenes, he says, this is nothing but this is a trick played by Vishnu. Please don't fall into this trick. Do not give. This young boy is a very dangerous boy. That Shukracharya advises. But then Bali is a righteous person and a very truthful person. So he says, no, I cannot withdraw. I cannot withdraw my word. I have given a promise and I have to fulfill my promise. So okay, then he says, he donates that land in a very, very formal manner. That formal donation also, that slow, if we see that dramatization there, it is so interesting there. So he has Vipraya, Prakatavrataya. So there is a big shloka there. Then he has to put some water in his hand, and then that water has to flow into the hand of the other receiver. The giver pours some water, and then that water has to fall in the hands of the receiver, and then that is how the donation is given. So in that very, very formal manner, he donates. Then that young boy, so he has to measure out that 3 feet of land. So then he grows in size. He grows in size. That again is a beautiful description in Mahabhagavata. That description also, then when a person grows in size, how can you describe? So you think, suppose we see sun above. So when this boy grows, initially sun appears to be something like an umbrella. And when he further grows, that sun appears to be some sort of an ornament for the ear. And when the further grows, that appears to be an ornament at the neck. When he further grows, it appears to be an ornament somewhere around the waist. And when he further grows, the sun appears to be an ornament around the anklet. So like that, with reference to the sun, the way in which this Vamana grows in size is described. Basically poetic. You see, this mythology is mixed with poetry, because mythology is telling some moral story, and moral story, if it is told in a very, very drab manner, nobody will listen. So you have to add some masala, you have to add some sort of say fun to that, and then you have to add some poetry, you have to add a lot of say poetic things in that. So there is a big poetic license also there. So he describes the say this growing of this Vamana in that manner. So what was umbrella first? It becomes a sort of anklet, padapithamai, and again at the end it becomes a small pedestal-like thing. Ravi Bimbam appears somewhat like a pedestal, so which means he grows above that Ravi Bimba. That is the sun, the solar orb, let us say. Then where does he put his first leg? One leg he occupies the earth, and again another leg he occupies the heaven. There is a third leg, third time he has to measure out the 3rd foot also. One measure he has measured out the whole earth. In another foot he measured out the whole say sky. Then he has to put his leg somewhere. Where should I put my leg? So Bali realizes that that is basically, it is Vishnu who has come to vanquish his egotism, and he says, you put it on my head. So Bali Chakravarti, this Vamana puts his foot on the head of this Bali. What does it symbolize? It symbolizes removal of ego. If somebody puts his foot on the head, it means that this other man's ego is totally gone. Ego is totally vanquished. So this vanquishing of ego is what is symbolized here. Vanquishing of ego. A human being in the spiritual path should not think that he is great. A human being has to realize that it is the body-mind complex which is performing various deeds. He is of the nature of that supreme reality. So he should not think that he is the doer. He should not think that he is the doer. It is some body-mind complex which is performing its activities, what we saw in Gita. So his ego, sense of egotism should not be there. That notion of I should not be there. And that is what has been removed in this particular story. So we will continue next with maybe 1 or 2 more stories, and then I will conclude the narration about these Puranas. These Puranic stories are innumerable, because I told you there are so many traditions. There are so many traditions in India, and each tradition has created its own stories. Of course, there are some stories which are in common. There are some stories which you can find in, say, Vishnu Puranas and then Shiva Puranas. There are some common stories. But individually also, there are several stories, all relating to this type of moral, ethical or philosophical teaching. So we will continue in the next session. Thank you.